Good morning, all. So I just got finished looking at Stephen A's retraction, explanation, whatever you want to call it, regarding his statements made about Will Smith and him deciding that, it just was not conducive to his preference to support Will Smith in Bad Boys, right? And his reason being is because Chris Rock is damaged or whatever. In all of my years of life, have not once seen a person cape for Chris Rock because, to be honest with you, he has never presented himself, or he has never presented a situation in which he needed backup from anyone. And this isn't to say that Will has. My point in making that statement is just simply that Chris Rock has his audience. He has his fans. He has, his alliances and allegiances. All of those are already set up for him. And a large majority of that demographic is white or non-black. So, in all essence of the goals and expectations of Hollywood and celebrity and hierarchy, he's at the top. He has reached a place that, people dream about, right? For all intents and purposes, Will Smith has as well. He has, when it comes to like the rapper to actor transition, he is literally the first person that you think of who has done it successfully, like at a high performance level. He is the poster boy. He's the poster child for that particular thing. In Stephen A's, I don't know that I can even call it a recant. Whatever it was, in his address of his initial statements, he made it a point to note that he watched Will Smith in Emancipation and how stellar that performance was. Also giving credit to Antoine Fuqua, who directed the movie, right? Another elitist in black cinema overall. Okay, why were you okay with supporting Will, offering your viewership to Emancipation, which basically was his redemptive movie from the Chris Rock incident, but you have all of this reserve when it comes to Bad Boys, which this particular movie is of a franchise that already has like people who are eager to support this, who are going to support it automatically by default because it's Will and Martin, it's Marcus Burnett and Mike Lowry. Like it's a whole, like, it's a cult in itself, right? Why is this the thing that you are making it a point to be negative about, or again, to have reserve about? It just doesn't make sense to me. But again, you admitted to watching and giving props to Will Smith's performance in Emancipation, even saying that it was Oscar worthy for he and Antoine Fuqua. Like, it's the double talk. You know what I'm saying? Like, the problem that I have with people constantly holding Will to the fire regarding this slap is this amount of cry for punitive response is so strong when it comes to Will. But there's so much back and forth about other people who have repetitive, dangerous, negative behaviors towards humanity. Like R. Kelly, who I still listen to R. Kelly's music. Let's get that out there. Diddy, everybody online caping for this man. He doesn't deserve this. It's all a lie. And, believe half of what you see and all of this. And it's just crazy. It's crazy to me. It's like, why is it so important for people to like, come on, dog. And it's funny too, because the young lady who had previously called him out about his support of the WNBA and what he could have been doing, as he went on to state who's been doing this, that, and the other for the WNBA, as far as, having conversation about it, blah, 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 right? And a young lady goes on to state that, to be honest with you, with your platform, you could have been doing more. But then in Stephen A's address of his previous statements regarding Will Smith, he's kind of even riding that whole little thing when it comes down to him not having license to do X, Y, and Z. Like, his intentions are not to sway anyone from going to see the movie, but that your platform has a certain level of impression, okay? Not that people are necessarily going to be like, oh, it did or did not have Stephen A's stamp of approval. This affects my decision. It isn't necessarily that, but at the same time, you do know that you are at a certain level of power to where people are going to be listening to what you're saying and maybe taking some of those things into consideration or whatever. It's almost like sometimes Stephen A kind of enjoys the shock jock persona. And if that's the gimmick, okay, great. That's fine or whatever. If your goal is to perform opposition to things in order, to gain viewership or whatever, fine. Then you're meeting your goal. But we have to speak truth to power at the same time. I can appreciate, if this is true, that Will's former bodyguard gave Stephen A call and was asking him to give Will some grace. Will and Grace, that's funny. I never even watched that show. It's just funny that even just came to, like, all right, anyway. So that he encouraged Stephen A to give Will some grace, but at the same time, who fucking cares? You know what I'm saying? The movie has already done what it's going to do in its weekend opening, which has far exceeded the other Bad Boys openings. Like, the press tour for this movie was above and beyond one's imagination. Just for Bad Boys. This wasn't Harry Potter. This wasn't Dune. This wasn't, you know what I'm saying? This is really an urban dramedy to a degree. Action, comedy type thing. And those type of movies don't typically get that type of coverage. So this is big. People love Will Smith. And people forgave him directly after. Will is not the spokesperson for Black people, but he is also not the person who the Black people are just going to come together and be like, F Will Smith, blah, 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 blah. That's not, like, this man has proven himself to be a genuine human, pro-human. Like, it's all of his, everything about him is just about empowerment and, love and acceptance and things of that nature or whatever. But a nigga can get mad sometimes. It's okay for people to get mad. It's okay for people to have, an infraction against them What he did to Chris Rock, for me, for a whole heap of other people, did not represent black people, black culture in one handbasket. It just doesn't. That slap didn't mean shit. If anything, it shocked most people, and a lot of people thought it was a damn skit. And I definitely thought it was a skit the whole entire show, because I'm just like, you know what I'm saying? It is no way. It is no way. And then to find out that it was for real was just like, once again, be careful how you handle people, because you do not know what the next person is going through. So it had less to do with the person being offended by comedy, and it was just more to do with a person's breaking point. It just so happened that it was coming from a comedian. This is shit that people, they aren't taking into consideration. Everybody's just making it like people are so sensitive towards comedy and comedians or whatever, but there's a certain level of respect that you all have to pay to certain topics, certain people, so on and so forth, if you do not want to receive a particular backlash. It just is what it is. Your expectation that everybody is supposed to be as receptive to your material is unrealistic. This is why there are some people who like you. This is why there are some people who don't. So there came a time where a person that you could have deemed yourself cool with, Chris, being cool with Will being cool with Chris, or whatever their relationship was prior to this, and you crossed the line. This is why people have boundaries. Because when those boundaries end up becoming crossed, then it's like you are openly, actively, purposely, intentionally violating a boundary that I've set for myself and have probably spoken to you about at some other point, and you've decided that it was more important to get laughs and giggles off of this versus honoring the fact that I said, stop talking about my fucking wife. And I'm not saying that this conversation was had before. I'm just saying, like, sometimes shit happens. And if everybody has to be written off because shit happens, Stephen A wouldn't have a job. I wouldn't have a job. You wouldn't have a job. We are all with sin. All of us. All of us. We have violated somebody to some degree at some point in our lives, whether it was on purpose or not, whether it is to our awareness or not. It has happened. I am so fucking tired of listening to all of this bickering banter about Will slapping Chris. It wasn't even a slap. It was a smack. Open hand, all 5 fingers to the face. Like a slap is, a smack is like, the next thing you're going to be doing is punching a person. Like a smack is a message. And the message was received. And as Stephen A stated, and I wish he would learn to take some of these cues to heart, Chris ain't even talking about the shit no more. Or at all. And even when he did address it, the shit wasn't even fucking funny. Like it... You know what I'm saying? You didn't even capitalize off of it. He did the same thing Cat Williams did. Had a salacious moment, went on tour, and nothing. So, whatever with all this shit. I have my ticket. I'm going to see it. And if I love it, I'm going to see it again. I'm going to make sure that I support. And there's a whole market of people behind me that's going to do the same thing. So, that's that on that.